Since we'll be leaving this place today, could you please move out? We'll also pay the $473 monthly loan. Now that my daughter is coming, we no longer need you. Okay, well then please take care of everything from now on. Even though we had supported our in-laws so much, they easily shifted their trust to the younger sister. As I reached the entrance, packing my belongings, I told them something very important. Oh, by the way, it seems there's a misunderstanding. The monthly loan repayment is… As I said that, their faces turned pale in shock. My name is Emily, a 35-year-old office worker. I've been married to Tom for 3 years. We met through a mutual friend who believed we'd be perfect for each other. This friend's intuition was spot on. We were drawn to each other from our first conversation. Tom also felt the same, and we began dating. We continued the relationship smoothly, and around 2 years later, he proposed to me. I was so happy as I loved him deeply. Both our families agreed to our marriage, and we had a wonderful wedding attended by many. We then went on a honeymoon and began our life together as a married couple. We both worked, so we shared household chores. Tom had lived alone for a long time and could cook, which was a huge help. Even when I was late from work, Tom helped me and started cooking so we could have dinner soon after. We cooperated in all household tasks, and life felt peaceful and stress-free. We were grateful for each other's company. In the blink of an eye, 3 years passed, and our bond remained as strong as when we were newlyweds. However, a significant event occurred. Tom's father fell ill suddenly, and we rushed to the hospital. Dad, are you okay? Tom, Emily, thank you for coming. Sorry for causing you concern. It seems I overexerted myself. He had been a workaholic, often working long hours, and as he aged, the stress of those years took a toll on him. For now, I'll undergo some tests and wait for the results. I see. Tom and I were anxious, but more than that, my mother-in-law was quite upset. For the mother-in-law who had always supported her husband as a housewife, it was understandable that she was upset when her partner, the mainstay of the family, was suddenly in mortal danger. Mother-in-law, are you all right? Yes, somehow. We cared deeply for both of them and began visiting them more frequently, trying to be as supportive as possible. After a week, the father-in-law's test results came out. Although he was released from the hospital, there were concerns about a recurrence. Realizing that they might not handle another emergency, Tom proposed something. Hey, what if we live together with my parents? The proposal was expected. If my parents were in the same situation, I'd want to live with them too. Of course, I'm okay with that. Let's discuss it with them right away, I said. Thank you, Emily, Tom replied. We quickly presented the idea to our in-laws. Live together? We want to be a burden, said my mother-in-law, wiping away her tears. It's not a bother at all. Emily and I are worried about both of you, I reassured them. Thank you, both of you. Music. Our in-laws, teary-eyed, gratefully accepted. They must have been quite anxious. We promptly moved in with them. My mother-in-law, knowing that both of us worked, took the lead in the household chores. Thanks to her, we could focus on our jobs. The father-in-law retired early and spent his days resting at home, which improved his health. We all got along wonderfully without any issues, and life was joyous. However, our in-laws made a certain proposal. I've been thinking about this for a while. How would you feel about building a new 2-family house? My father-in-law said. Huh? It's a bit small for 4 adults to live in this house, and if Tom and Emily have children in the future, it'll be even smaller. Considering the future, I've been thinking of building a bigger house where we can live comfortably for the rest of our lives. However, it's not something we can afford with just my savings. We will need to discuss and decide together. Tom and I were surprised by the proposal, but we thought it wasn't a bad idea. While the current in-laws' house isn't too small, it's not particularly spacious or comfortable either. Leaving here long-term might lead to stress building up between us. Perhaps buying a new house where everyone can live comfortably is a good idea. After discussing with Tom for a while, we decided to go along with the father-in-law's proposal. Subsequently, the four of us went to real estate agencies to look at various properties. We considered making it barrier-free for our in-laws and ensuring there are plenty of rooms if children come along. Ideally, it should be in a safe area close to both a hospital and a train station and have easy access to grocery stores. Given everyone's requirements, it seemed like it might be pricey. However, if we're going to live here for the rest of our lives, we don't want to compromise too much. Each family member shared the same sentiment, so fueled by determination, we decided to build our dream house, no matter the cost. After some time, our new home was finally completed. The exterior and interior were both new and beautiful, and just gazing upon it filled our hearts with joy. This is really amazing. I can't be sick anymore. I want to stay healthy and live here for as long as possible, my mother-in-law said. The in-laws seemed pleased, and my husband and I were equally excited. This is the house that will be with us for our entire lives. When we have kids, I want to play catch in the garden and have barbecues, I exclaimed. That sounds great. Let's make lots of family memories here, my husband added. We were overflowing with excitement and joy. Living in the house turned out to be truly comfortable, and it felt like the pinnacle of happiness. Being in a comfortable home made me even more enthusiastic about my work. Subsequently, my work went very smoothly. Both my public and private lives were fulfilling, and I genuinely felt grateful for buying this house. The months passed in the blink of an eye, and 2 years had passed in this house. We continued to have a good relationship with our in-laws as always, and we believed that the days ahead would be filled with happiness. However, at least this place for life in our new home, something unexpected happened. It was when my sister-in-law and her husband visited our new house. While this really is a nice house, it's not fair that only you guys get to live here, she said. What are you talking about? We discussed and decided to buy this house with our parents, I replied. But I can't help but feel envious. When we were still living in a cheap winter, it feels like you're living beyond your means, she retorted. My sister-in-law often visited our house during holidays and always expressed her envy. Every time she would accuse us of being unfair. We've been paying the mortgage for this house, and it's quite a hefty amount every month. We're living within our means, earning enough to pay for this house, so there's no reason for her to complain. If we were to live here with the in-laws, it would be so much fun, don't you think? What can you even know about the market for this house? My husband and I exchanged a glance. The sister-in-law probably just blurted out without giving it much thought. However, her careless words started to move my in-laws' hearts. It would be lovely if Kanna could move and live here together, my father-in-law said. Yes, it would liven things up, my mother-in-law added. Hey, what are you two talking about? Haven't we been living together all this while? I said, trying to lighten the atmosphere. Oh, come on, I was just saying, the sister-in-law replied. Exactly, there's no need to panic, right? Ha ha ha, my husband added, attempting to diffuse the tension. While the in-laws tried to brush it off, it was evident that they were enticed by the idea of living with the sister-in-law. They seemed to have a particular affection for her. Even Mercer, their pet, went for her. She was a beauty with delicate features, looking like a doll since her childhood. 4 years younger than Tom, she was born when the in-laws were older, making them dote on her even more. This pampering had led her to become quite spoiled, and Tom had to deal with her demanding nature. Having heard all this from Tom, I was always wary of my sister-in-law. For a while after we got married, Tom and I were both caught off guard because she didn't seem to be causing us any trouble. However, recently, she had been increasingly eyeing our new house. Oh, Emily, you're back. Then I'll be leaving now, she said one day. Huh, I wish you'd stay a bit longer, I replied, trying to be polite, but hoping she would leave. But Tom and Emily might find it inconvenient, she said, pretending to be considerate. I don't think it's a nuisance, I said, trying to hide my irritation. You might say that, but it's evident in your eyes and behavior, she retorted. Unwanted guests should leave quickly. See you, Mom and Dad, she called out as she left. When the sister-in-law left, the in-laws were visibly upset. They looked as if they wished she had stayed longer. Even though they didn't voice their feelings, their faces and attitudes spoke volumes. I often felt out of place, retreating to my room after work to avoid the growing tension that lingered in our home. When Tom came home, we'd cautiously make our way to the living room for dinner, but the atmosphere around the dinner table became increasingly strained. Long silences would hang in the air, and it was clear something was amiss. Tom, too, sensed the change and began to suspect that the cause of our troubles was his sister. As our relationship with the in-laws deteriorated, the sister-in-law finally made her move. One holiday, Tom and I returned from our morning shopping to find unfamiliar shoes at the entrance. We exchanged glances, perplexed, and then his mother-in-law approached us from the living room. You're finally back. We need to talk, she said, her tone unusually stern. As we entered the living room, there sat the sister-in-law and her husband. Ah, you're finally here, she said, addressing us casually. Kana, what's going on? From today, we'll be living here, so please leave, she declared, catching us off guard. What? Tom and I were taken aback by her sudden announcement. What is she thinking, moving in today? Hold on, it's ridiculous to say that all of a sudden. It's not sudden. We've discussed this with Mom and Dad for a long time, she responded confidently. Kai and I will take care of everyone. I'll handle the housework and even care for you when needed. Please rely on us, Mom and Dad. With our daughter here, we don't need you anymore. A daughter-in-law who doesn't do housework or have children is no match for Kana. I was deeply hurt by their words. Seeing my shocked face, the sister-in-law smirked. We'll pay the $473 monthly loan, okay, she said, as if it would make everything all right. Huh? $473? I stammered, unable to believe what I was hearing. It's a great deal to live in such a nice house for that. Tom and I exchanged dumbfounded glances. It became clear that the in-laws were already planning to kick us out. After such treatment, we couldn't continue living there. Is that so? I managed to say. But we can't move out immediately. Could you give us at least a week? We need to find a new place. Fine, his mother-in-law said, her tone indifferent. Ah, you must be looking forward to living with Kana and her husband from today. As the in-laws looked disappointed, the sister-in-law and her husband were extremely happy that we decided to leave. Calm down, Mom and Dad. The house isn't going anywhere. I'm looking forward to a week from now, she chimed in, her voice dripping with satisfaction. While the in-laws and the sister-in-law's family were thrilled to drive us out, Tom and I seriously reconsidered co-living with such people. We quickly arranged to view rental properties and moved out within a week. On the day we were leaving, I made it clear. Please take care of everything from now on. Don't ever get involved with us or come to this house again. Their words were harsh, especially considering how much we had supported them. Yet now we could finally live comfortably with Mom and Dad in our new home. It felt like a dream. As I gathered our belongings and approached the entrance, I shared an important piece of information. Oh, by the way, it seems there's a misunderstanding about the monthly mortgage payments. It's $1,825 every month, okay? Make sure you understand that. What? They exclaimed in shock, their faces turning pale all at once. Hold on a second, isn't the loan just $473 a month? They protested. You misunderstood, didn't you? This house is under our father's name, so the loan is contractually agreed to be paid off through a debit from Dad's account. Emily and I were planning to live in this house for the rest of our lives, so we told him he wouldn't have to pay. We were bearing all the costs. So I was transferring $473, and Emily was transferring $1,352 to our father's account every month. It turned out father had only remembered the monthly transfers into his account. Moreover, Emily and I split the living expenses equally. Our parents probably never thoroughly checked the costs and assumed it wasn't a significant amount. What? No way. We can't pay $1,825 a month. We can't even cover the living expenses on top of that. How can Emily afford to contribute so much? Tom exclaimed. I don't know how you perceive me, but I'm a department head at a major corporation. I earn quite a lot, I interjected. What? Emily earns much more than I do, Tom said, explaining to the in-laws. The in-laws looked shocked. Well, we've decided to cut ties with you, so it's up to you to support our parents from now on, father said firmly. No way, Emily, Tom, wait. We were wrong. Let's live peacefully together like before, okay, mother pleaded. What, Mom and Dad, are you planning to abandon us? You guys can repay the loan, can't you? If that's the case, shouldn't you live with those who can? I argued. That's not fair. Dad told me the loan was only about $473. That's why we came here. We've already canceled our previous house, the sister-in-law protested. That's not my problem. Isn't this mess because you wanted to move in with us in the first place? Tom said. Right, your husband earns very little, doesn't he? But you always said family was more important than money and pampered me. When our livelihood is at stake, all of that doesn't matter, I added, pointing out their hypocrisy. The quarrel between the in-laws and the sister-in-law was unbearable to watch. Well, we're leaving, I declared, and with that Tom and I left the house and moved into our rented room. Despite numerous messages from the in-laws, we ignored them all. According to our neighbors, the in-laws and the sister-in-law's family had no choice but to live together. However, they couldn't pay the loan and eventually had to let go of the house. When they sold the house, a considerable debt remained. Even after using the father-in-law's early retirement benefits for repayment, they still fell short. Eventually, they had to settle for a small apartment and work multiple jobs to repay their debt. Apparently, the sister-in-law's husband didn't want the burden to fall on him, so he ran away. If only the in-laws had continued living peacefully with us, they wouldn't have faced these hardships. But again, it's none of our concern now. On the other hand, Tom and I found our rented apartment much cozier than anticipated. We planned to stay here for a while and save money. We lived happily, watching our savings grow at an incredible rate. We believed it was essential to save as much as we could for the future while enjoying occasional luxuries. Our aim was a happy life together in the years to come.